Hi, everyone. Welcome to our APTLI event. Today, we have us a Palestinian filmmaker, Salim Abu Jabal, and he is actually broadcasting live from, I believe it is around 9 o'clock your time. So thanks for making the time to be with us today and to talk to our group. Salim is an award-winning filmmaker born in occupied Golan Heights. He studied theater and Arabic literature at the University of Haifa and script writing. He worked as a journalist and film critic in various newspapers and then pursued a career in TV and cinema. Since then, he produced and directed several films, series, and programs and was best known for his roles as casting director and producer of renowned award-winning films. In 2005, he founded a traveling film festival that specialized in Palestinian cinema from the West Bank and Gaza. In 2013, he founded the Cinema Club, dedicated to the dissemination of art house and independent cinema in Haifa, Ramallah, Gaza, Bethlehem, and Jenin. His first feature film, Roshmia, 2015, won 13 awards around the world and was featured in many film festivals. And so that is the film that he will be talking about today with us. Students and staff had access to the film via a link, as well as the trailer and synopsis. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's really great. Feel free to check it out afterwards if you weren't able to, but you have the synopsis on the website and in your email if you wanted to take a quick look at that, so you know the background in general. So if you have any questions as we move along, feel free to direct those towards Salim. Thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you. Hello, I need to talk now. I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. Okay, thank you. I'm very happy to be with you. Like my film, as you said, I made in 2015, and it was after a process of let's say 6 or 7 years of starting filming with the couple, with the old people there, Abu Abed and his wife Amna, and it came out when I was a journalist, and I found this story. And after I made the feature story for the newspaper, then I follow the couple and visiting them as a friend until I started to think to shoot their film with a small camera to help the campaign not to destroy their house, their shack. Slowly, it's become a long film because the demolition was rejected all the time because issues of courts and management, and the company was digging the tunnels there. Somehow I start shooting start shooting let's say in 2004, and I ended in 2008. And the last 1 year it was the most I was shooting in the shack in the valley, Roshmia, the valley of Roshmia, and somehow I found out that this is a very interesting story. I want to make a long film, a feature film, not just a short film. And after I let's say something happened there, the home not exist anymore, I want to continue shooting with the couple in the new department that they moved to. But when I was editing few years later, because the project take me time until I finish it, I found out that the story should end in the valley when the shack is not there anymore, and not include the new flat in the film. So what you saw in the film is all happened in the valley where they lived for many years, without seeing what happened after that, because I just feel that this will be a new film to show their life afterward, after the leaving the valley. So this is very like a summary about the project, about the story. Then the film went for many festivals and was a good welcoming as a story. let's say, authentic. I shoot it without asking the couples many questions, just trying to be observing their life, recording it. And when I'm editing the film, it was like more like a narrative way of editing, not a documentary, because I want to tell a story from a few point of views. And I was shooting for long hours there, and I have a lot of materials and hours. So it was easy to edit from, like I shoot with more than one camera. Yeah, this is in like a summary about the project itself and the film. That I'm happy I have the chance to do it, and the family opened their life for me and give me the opportunity to record their life and keep them in the memory.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, since we do have a lot of language students here. First off, with our program being focused on Arabic, Persian, Turkish languages, would you be able to speak a little bit about the dialect used in the film, and different, and if the like, for example, if there was multiple languages in use in the film, what that was like? Yeah, my connection's getting a little little off.
Okay. Yeah, so all the film is a dialect of what we call Palestinian dialect, but it's a little bit old because they came from the era of the 40s, the 30s, the 40s. And some people in these days, when they listen to them, they found this kind of words that we don't know, it's not exist anymore. Like they use it from their period. And they keep it because people change their language, by the years, and they don't use certain words. But because they were isolated and somehow not really involved and in the modern life, as we see in the film, so they keep their old language, the dialect, the Palestinian dialect. So there is one dialect, there is one language we hear there, maybe few Hebrew words here and there, but it's all Arabic Palestinian dialect.
And feel free, anyone, if anyone else wants to jump into questions, we're keeping an eye on the chat, and feel free to unmute yourself. But kind of going off of that with the family, with the couple, I know they basically kind of are a bit frozen in time in that sense, that they kind of preserve their old language and their old shack and everything, while time is kind of passing them by in that sense, and everything. Where when journalists would come to visit them and talk with them, would they be able to understand them? Were they able to like communicate with everybody, or did they need the help of the friend who was helping them legally with the different with that notice, with that order?
Yeah, journalists was coming always, actually. When I came there first time, a few journalists were coming before me, and some stories in the newspapers was telling about how this old couple living like kind of middle age, middle ages life. They don't have electricity, they have few water, like a little bit of water that they just can drink and wash dishes, not a lot. And was an amazing to find this couple like living in the bottom of the valley and surrounded by a modern life of Haifa city. And this is what brings people to meet them. And by the years, they really was not in contact with many people, except the guy that you see in the film was visiting them and trying to help somehow. But when the order coming from the municipality to remove the shack and to build a road and a tunnels there, so more journalists was coming and were coming to meet them and to make the reviews. Yeah, for sure. The language is like an easy language because all of the people speaking the same Palestinian dialect, but I mean they use some words that we don't really use today, but it's an easy way to communicate with them. And the thing that was really good is that they were used to be interviewed. They don't really care about cameras and people, because they live their simple life without TV for many years. So they don't really aware about the effect of camera or TV. And we're welcoming everybody to come and to interview them and to shoot them. And when I start to do the shooting, it was a way of journalism. So they have no problem with that. And when I bring a big camera afterward and staying a lot of hours there, it was the same. So that's why I can do the shooting in this way that you see in the film, which is observing and all the things that they did in their life, I can capture. They don't really think that the camera is working now. It's on or off. They don't really care. And I can do the recording all the time I need, So it was really an amazing thing to find kind of these people not connected to the modern life, that don't see TV, don't really care about the effect of TV and camera, and do the story with them for a few years. Then somehow the journalists disappeared because no action, no more news coming. So I keep going there and have the silence and the time to make the film in this way, of this rhythm of slowing, as their life is slow.
How have they reacted, or do they even know the effect that the film has had after it was released and became pretty famous? How have they reacted to that?
Actually, they don't care so much, but the truth is they died even before the film was released. So when I was editing, I was just showing them some clips, some what I already have in my laptop, and they was looking at that and don't really feel something special in this. They may be laughing about some scenes, but actually when the film was released in 2015, they were already died. Can see the whole film as a one piece.
Yeah, and then kind of during the film, it's very interesting to see the is it Anma, the woman's character, her she kind of starts off being like, I don't care, I want to stay here, but then she kind of, I don't know, becomes a bit more empowered, and then and kind of feisty, and wants her rights and her share of what's due to her. And can you talk a little bit about that sort of evolution in her character and behavior, and kind of some of the backs?
Yeah, actually, I was surprised that she is reacting like that, because I didn't expect this actually. And what I can say in this point, that this is what makes the film as a film, because she makes the drama, she makes the surprise, something like that, the events going through like a new way. And without that, I think I will not have a film like this, because the conflict between them, is the film about. How the stress coming from outside, the system of the country, the municipality, affecting in their life, and how they react to the issue itself. So what she did, actually, it's very normal as a person want to start new life with somebody, even she don't know where to go, and she need the help even just to pass from place to place. But this was an amazing thing she did. That means how independent and strong she is as a woman, which is actually very connected to that period of life in Palestine in the 40s and the 50s. Women farmers, especially women, were very dominant in the society, working in the fields and have their position. And she coming from that place. But after I finished the film and after she died, I discovered that she is from a gypsy family, connected to a gypsy group in Palestine, which is also an amazing thing that can just telling something about her. But yeah, she is an amazing character actually, and she's very spontaneous. One of the things that I can explain, she was not happy about that guy, Aouni, that coming always and want to be controlling the things, and she want to make it hard for him to enjoy, the share after they get the money, because he was the only one that will take everything after they died. So she don't like that, and she want to make his life hard. And she was doing that in this way,
Yeah, yeah. Her evolution.
Can you say again? I lost.
Yeah, we lost you, Kay. Could you repeat what you said?
Became.
Nothing, we can.
Yeah, I think Kay lost connection a little bit.
Okay.
Well, she's trying to connect. I have a question about the Gypsy community in Palestine, because I'm really ignorant about this community. Kay, we lost you. Sorry. If you are trying to connect, I'm asking a question about the Gypsy community in Palestine.
Yeah.
And are they called the Dom community or Nawari? Because could you tell us a bit about the background?
Yeah, the Gypsy community in Palestine actually is a very interesting story. I think what is remained now, if small groups, one in Gaza, in Jabalia, one in Jerusalem in the Old City, and I meet them and I know them, and one in Nablus in the West Bank. But before the Nakba, before the exile, it was a bigger group in Bethlehem and in many places. And for sure, they came out from the source, as we know. Maybe I don't know how much we know about that, but India as the source of this group of gypsies. And first step was Iran, then Iraq, and one group go, more south to Syria, Jordan, Palestine, Egypt. Another group went up to Turkey, Europe. But this is coming from the same source. So the group that goes south, we called Doma in the Middle East, and the one in Europe called Roma in Europe. So this is part of Palestine Jordan group of gypsies was living here. And they was working a lot of, circus, games with bears, with animals, with monkeys, and there's a lot of very interesting story about them. I don't know what is English. They're looking in the coffee and telling you your future. This was doing that a lot. And dancing, also dancing in the weddings. This was the thing that they was doing all over Palestine. And actually, until recently in Gaza, the Gypsies women was doing that in Gaza.
But now, are they mostly settled, or are there some nomadic groups, nomadic groups?
No, they're settled. They're settled like
they're settled. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Kay, we lost you, so I asked the question instead. Interrupted.
No, that was actually what I was gonna ask. So thanks for asking it, because it was so interesting, the kind of like the Palestinian gypsies, and I just wanted to ask, like, what was the Roma gypsy? So you answered that. Thank you so much. Okay.
Any questions or comments from Kimia Mohammed?
If they didn't, I kind of wanted to, I know Anissa, I think, had some trouble connecting too. It's just one of those days. So if you wouldn't mind, yeah, Mohammed.
No, I'm fine. I just want to say hi. No, I just said question. No, thank you. No, I don't have any question. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Mohammed is one of our instructors. He teaches Persian with us at the advanced level. So happy to have him and a couple of our students. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind, Salim, talking a little bit about your identity, of just kind of your background. I know it's kind of far-ranging, with a bit of Syrian, a bit of Palestinian. I wanted to talk a little bit about yourself and your background, how you got into filmmaking and the style of film that you make.
Okay, sure. Originally from the Golan Heights, which is a Syrian area occupied by Israel, 1967. I grew up in the Golan Heights, and because this kind of occupation don't letting us go and visit and be connected to Syria, our like home country. So because we are connected to the Arab world and the Arab culture and the Arab history, the only place that we can feel connected to is Palestine, which is I'm going to Haifa, I'm going to Ramallah, West Bank, I'm going Nazareth in the Galilee, everywhere that there is Arabic speaking, Arabic books and culture. And this is how I make my way to Haifa University first, and there I learned Arab literature and theater, and start working as a journalist, a local Arab newspaper. Then I became the editor and start making stories about what is going in Haifa, and for sure, especially with the Arab community, Palestinian community in Haifa. And I worked for a few years like that, writing about cultural issue because I was very interesting about how both sides, Israelis and Palestinians, dealing with the conflict about the issue by art, like by movies, theater, fine art, everything. So this was my specialized in writing about that. And somehow I found this story about Roshmia, start shooting it by myself. Even I'm not a filmmaker, I'm just a journalist. And at the same time, I start to learn script writing and working in other films as a production manager, as a casting, and etc. And somehow, this what make me became part of cinema industry, and then make a film festival, bringing all the films from West Bank and show it everywhere, because I was very interested to show what filmmakers in the West Bank telling about Second Intifada. By films, not by news or stories that we see in the news. So films is a different thing that can tell more interesting story, and we see the people in these stories. And mostly it was short films by cameramen or each one that can tell a story. And this festival was moving from place to place. And slowly I became want to make my film Roshmia after I finished shooting, and now I'm working mostly in my other films, like in new projects, and still working in casting, production, programming, film festivals, giving a workshop of script writing, editing, and I leave. Unfortunately, I leave journalism. I don't work in that anymore because all my time is going to cinema in different aspects, as a filmmaker, as a programmer, as a producer, and etc. As one from the Golan Heights, I feel connected to Palestine as a place that I feel there is a big catastrophe of the Nakba, and I can see by myself because I lived in Haifa for 10 years, and then I want to move to West Bank. So I lived in Ramallah another 9 years. That's I can see both sides. Like when I'm in Haifa, I can see things from the Israeli eyes, because Haifa is mostly an Israeli city with minority of Arabs, Palestinian Arabs, and in West Bank is all Palestinians. So I have the opportunity to be in both places and to see how things is happened, and this make me able to make another films and another stories.
The kind of seeing both sides makes it a very unique perspective when you're making the films. How has reception been to the films by Israelis, by let's say the other side?
Yeah, let's say welcoming, because I was showing that in more like activist festivals, and leftist people want to see the films because the story that I bring, the Israelis don't like so much. They don't like to be remembered about the Nakba. So some places that was able to see that was okay, and they know the story, and they pro-Palestinians and somehow, and they supporting the struggle of Palestinians. That was okay, but it's not the mainstream of Israeli people. And I don't think I will get it, the mainstream, because it will not be shown in TV and will not be shown in theaters. And maybe I'm not able also to do that because the film was funded by Arab culture funds. That means it's not really welcoming to go through other ways in Israel, which is a sensitive and complicated issue here. You know, when you are on this side and not working with the other side. Yeah, but for sure, I make my film for everyone to see it. Like, I'm not boycotting anyone. I want all Israelis to see it.
I have a related question about the reception. So did it go through any kind of censorship in Israel, or was it in fact screened in Israel?
Censorship, you mean?
Yeah, censorship, yeah.
Yeah, for
was
films.
It censored? Yeah.
No. For films and theaters, it stopped in 1990. The censorship was there. Like, you can't make a play on theater without going through censorship, and also films. But then 1990s stopped, and if there is something like they see something don't like, then they do the censorship. Oh, there is few ways to do that, but not in an official way. I can shoot soldiers. I can shoot policemen as a journalist. But when I go with my camera to a checkpoint, lately there is a new law that I can't shoot by my camera a soldier. Maybe they can shoot me, the guns, but I can't shoot. I can't use my camera, and that's because the cameras now everywhere. You know, the phones, and you can see when the soldiers arresting a kid or doing anything else. So now they're trying not even to let journalists to shoot in checkpoints and military places. Because, you know, at the end, Israel is a military country, because everyone go to army, and they want to keep things not really telling, because the West Bank is an issue. The West Bank is a place that is occupied. Even we say there is a Palestinian Authority and there is Palestinian president, but actually it's not. When you see the ground, you see that Israelis can go in and do what they want, as they own the place, and they still control it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just bringing into yesterday we actually had a talk with a short documentary filmmaker, also Palestinian, who was focusing on the Bethlehem 300 checkpoint, and so the film revolved around that short documentary style. And so I'm going to blatantly steal a question from someone who attended the last lecture and talk about that film, and just asked if there was some scene that you had filmed, but that didn't make the final cut, that you were really, really wanting to add to the film. I think you talked about first off thinking about continuing with the story of the couple going to the flat and what that was like. But in the post-production editing process, was there anything that was left on the cutting room floor that maybe was dear to you, or something that you had wanted to put in, but then after that didn't?
Yeah, this is a very good question, because when we edit, we do a lot of scenes and then we put all together. So let's say my process was like, 3 months. I want to edit very, very slowly, very carefully, and look at every frame, and then I make it as blocks, as scenes. So when I put all together, it's 3 hours. What I like what are the scenes that I think there is something to tell. But from these 3 hours, I'm starting just cutting down, until I became 1 hour and a half and 1 hour. At the end now is 1 hour and 10 minutes. So a lot of scenes I didn't including, even I like it so much. And this was really good because, it was good. I'm doing that after shooting 6 years of shooting. Like if I ended shooting in 2008, I start editing in 2014, which is make me don't have this emotional connected to the materials or to myself as a cameraman also. And I was like editing as somebody else did the shooting, which is make me choose and have decisions to cut out some scenes that is really nice, very, very beautiful scenes, and I like them so much. But it's not serving the storytelling that I want to tell, because I want to use the time, how time is moving in the film, because I want to tell the story by years and how things changing and how things became more and more complicated. So some scenes was like stabling the time and nothing really happened, and not going moving the action, the story forward. And that's why I want to continue editing in the way that the story is telling itself in the best way. So this maybe 10 scenes is out, but now lately I make a DVD and I include these scenes in the DVD, which is when you see the film, you can go to the chapter of other scenes and you see what else that I didn't really include.
Are you able to talk about one of those scenes, like something that you wanted to add in the film but is now in the deleted scene?
Yeah, like when he telling how he get married with his wife, with Amna, when he went to Jenin and he bring her by car and then he make her an blue ID, like Israeli blue ID. It's a long story, but very beautiful also. But when I put it there, like it's like just story about the past, not what's happening really in their life now.
Did he talk any more about his past? He mentioned in the film, he was talking about like how he got shot and how he survived that, and how, his first marriage and second marriage. But did he talk any more about like his just a bit more about the 40s and 50s, just so that the group is a bit more aware? I was wondering if you could mention a bit more of his background and what he lived through, kind of leading up to his life in the shack in the valley.
Yeah, he was telling stories about Akka, the other city north of Haifa, and his life there. He lived like 6 years after 1948, after he released from the jail, and he was living as a normal life, like other person, until he decided to move to this valley in 1956. So this period of life in Akka was very like a memory that he wants to tell all the time. But I just touch it a little bit in the film.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute. Something I did want to touch upon is kind of, I know probably very symbolic in the film, is they're always smoking. they are always lighting a cigarette. It's a very integral part of their lives, and probably just goes to show their only joy of everyday life is enjoy a cigarette. When you were editing the film, were you kind of focusing on that as well as like building the fire? I know you spent quite a bit of time with him trying to build a fire or light the fire and do that. Could you talk a little bit about your choices and including all these scenes, I guess, with fire and with the cigarettes and going forward?
Actually, like smoking, I'm not smoke. I hate smoking myself, but when I was there, I found that really, really very biotic, how they live, and how they pass their time every day. Because if they have 14 days to sit there, 14 hours to sit outside, the yard and just doing nothing, and I'm there, so the thing that they can busy with is more the cigarettes, making the cigarettes, smoking the cigarettes, lighting the fire. So there's nothing to do at all. And I found this very, like even her when she was smoking and she do this move without smoking even. That's mean how this became a kind of machine, like I don't know how to say that, like kind of a routine that smoking is part of their body. And the time that they was waiting for the day that the house will be demolished and the story will end in this place, it took like months, because always was rejected, and they was very upset and angry about. They don't know whether they going to leave this place, or even they're going to leave or not. So waiting and passing the time was a very hard thing for them. And the days I was there, I see how they just what they're doing in their time with the cigarettes. And this I want to include in the film because it's the only action they do and the only thing they connected between them. Even when they are fighting, then he gave her a cigarette and they became friends again. So, and the symbolic of the fire, actually, the symbolic of the fire, we can see it as telling what's going to be in the end of the story. And the fire is the only thing they have to be around. So for that, I want to include it. And when I was cutting by editing, I want to see the same move of the cigarette from two corners, like I have two cameras, but indeed I has one camera. But because I was filming from this side like 1 hour and from this side another 1 hour, but you're doing the same move, I can cut it like a narrative film.
Yeah, very interesting. I've never seen so many cigarettes like lit up in one amount of time. So yeah, it's kind of just struck me as that's their only joy and activity of each day, and how many years they must have been doing that. How long is actually the duration of your filming of their time? Years were you filming them?
Let's say totally like I start 4 years. It was 4 years, okay. But the last few months I was always there. Like in the 4 years, I was coming like once a week or twice a week. But when the things became in action and the municipality want really, or the company that making this project of the street of the road, it was very close. So I was coming all the time, like twice a week, 3, 4, sometimes every day. So most of the film that you saw, it's in the last 4 months. But also there is another scenes from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, before 2008. And I think this is give me the feel of time, the feel of processing, which is, I think, very important also in documentary when we're telling stories, not just like making a film about a profile film about somebody. Stories make it more interesting.
Just asking if anybody had any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Okay, so sorry about that. I just realized I was trying to ask a question and then my mic was muted, and then now it's open and I was just confused for a second. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insight into these processes. So my question to you is, I understand that film is a big way of protest, and I understand it's a big way to bring attention to the different dimensions of the conflict that is happening in Palestine. And I just wanted to ask you, when you're trying to reach international communities and trying to bring more attention to this to the international community, do you find that your films are able to permeate different countries? Is it more receptive in some countries and in other countries maybe it's not? I guess my question is more so censorship. Have you ever had an issue where your film was not accepted in a certain nation or community? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, no, not at all, because this story is more like can be international. Everywhere this story can happen. Like this family and what they face is, it also can happen in other countries, which is not connected to what is the topic of what happened in Palestine. So what I said in the festivals were accepting the film according to artistic or the theme they are looking for. Some festivals don't really want this film because it's not in the same theme or the same way, but not for censorship issues. Yeah, actually, I screened everywhere in the world, like England, Europe, USA, Brazil, Japan, everywhere. Like it's a story at the end, story of people somewhere in the world that other people want to see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question, Issa. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see the similarities. Like I mentioned before, we talked with the perception that has been worldwide has been a really amazing to see, because the themes of the films are global. People can relate to oppression worldwide in some way. A lot of what you cover and show in your film, and what he was doing as well with kind of showing a checkpoint and a border to cross, basically, can be related to anywhere where, like, US-Mexican border or something like that, even. So it can be seen throughout. So film in that way can just be very relatable across borders, and you don't need to know the language. You can see the or translate in subtitles and everything like that. Yeah, so that was a great question. Thanks, Anissa. I don't know if you're able to mention, Salim, anything that you're, my internet connection might be going out. Let me know if you can't hear me. Are you, I know you're working on projects currently, but are you working on anything like a brand new topic or something similar that's showing the oppression in some other formats or setting?
Actually, I'm working now on a new project about homeless in Ramallah, because I lived in Ramallah and I found one day someone homeless. This was new. I never saw that. So Ramallah is a small town that became a city, and this city became bigger and bigger every day, and starting throwing people in the edge. And this is, this homeless guy is like the first one that I saw is this city, which is a small city. It's 2,000, 100,000 people, not more. But you can see how strong is the capitalism there became, and how strong is the consuming things and other topics connected to the people of the Palestinian Authority, and connected to NGOs and European money. So many topics that in the end people became poor and just throw out of the system. So I just want to capture this moment of the first homeless going out of the streets, and I started filming with them. Now I'm in the middle of the filming, and it's a very interesting story, because he is also a very taking care about dogs, stray dogs and cats, and don't want to be in connection with people, and he's just living in the street with his stray dogs. And he is a very nice guy, not like tragic, but he's happy, and his life is going through other things that I'm following now. So yeah, it's kind of be similar of like people not really in the middle of the mainstream. They are just living in somewhere in the area that we don't see. It can be similar to Roshmia also.
That sounds really interesting. So yeah, I like that you like to focus on people not living in the norm and kind of like doing their own thing, and how kind of like they're affected by outside society with all these different things going on. I do want to be cognizant of time, so we are getting close to time. So if anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and feel free to ask. All right, it looks like there's no questions, but I was wondering if you had any recommended resources or like films to check out that I could share with students and with the group, just to maybe be a great introduction to Palestinian films, or anything that you recommend, or anything to check out and get on people's radar.
Sure, I can send a list by email. Yes, because I'm also programming films, so I know other films that I think people would be interested to see. There's a film called Speed Sisters about Palestinian girls making rally and speed cars. Very nice one.
Okay, yeah, if you send it over, I can share it out with the group and with the students. I think they'd be really interested. And if we have any aspiring documentary or filmmakers out there, do you have any tips?
Yes, sure. I will send by email for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your day, especially later at night, to talk with us, and for allowing us to share this recording with students who couldn't join. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for coming and for your questions. And I will follow up with the resources to film recommendations and Salim's tips later on. So thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Salim.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.